Okay, so I've got a riff idea I want to get down. I'm just going to go over how I capture a riff on my guitar. Going through the Fender ToneMaster Pro, which I've got, I'll just pull up the ToneMaster control. So this is the current setup I've got. You can see there, fuzz not engaged at the minute, but I've got a mezza head and two cabs, a mezza head and a Friedman cab, I believe. You see that? I've just got this idea in my head. I'm just going to track, add drums, bit of bass, and to see if it's worth taking it forward rather than just being a naked idea. So pretty low tuned. I mean G flat on a 6-string baritone here, this Jackson. Open strings like this, he says. So the idea I've got is it's kind of a gently Thor idea, and it kind of uses pedal tone type open string, a bit of pedal tone thing. So. That kind of thing. So I'm just going to get a BPM that I'm kind of happy with, a little bit slower than I normally would. So normally start around 170 and then tweak, but I'm going to start 160. I'm just going to track this guitar on the left and the right, and then add the drums. I'm just tapping away, and then let's see what we can turn this into. So off we go. See if I can get that exactly the same. The other one, so these are just scratch tracks at the minute, just so we can get the drums down. This is the idea process rather than the final bit. So here we go. So again. Okay, so I've got two guitar tracks now. And it doesn't take much more than that, so let's listen to that back. So I've got it panned, you can see pan fully left, fully right. We'll just start there, no EQ, no messing around just now, let's just get this done. So this is what this sounds like. Okay, so we've got that in a loop. I've got Superior Drummer ready to go. So I'll keep the guitar on because I tend to do this, I just work my way through it. What I've got is a Native Instruments complete S49 keys, I think it is. So got a keyboard. Let's just turn it on. And what I'm going to do is just take us through that, so we can hear the drums. So let's get a feel for what we kind of need to do. Let's pull the guitars down. Maybe -2. They're probably a bit loud at the minute. Let's get them down. Get a bit more headroom for the drums. Let's get them in. Let's just put everything back at 0 and we'll adjust afterwards. So let's have a listen to what we've got. I'm thinking something like that, nice and slow, nice and groovy, and we'll add it later at a time. So I'll probably go for bass and drums, bass, kick drum and snare. I'll have the hi-hats and stuff in. So let's just get that done. Let's just get something in, and then we'll fiddle around that afterwards. Here we go. Quickly get into this now, so you can see I've got the drums on the bottom there. Let's quickly switch to the piano roll, highlight everything there, quantize. Humanize function is on the Superior Drum at the minute, so that means that all the random hits and the kind of human additive stuff that goes on will happen even if you quantize it. So snap to grid, so this is what we've got so far. So because it's an intro type thing, it's pretty groovy. I'm not sure if I want like screaming cymbals, so maybe a something kind of on the bounce like that, and let's add some cymbals afterwards. So let's have a bit of a play with that. back in and quantize all that. So none of this is permanent, it's just to get a feel for it and see if we like the idea of the riff. So let's find some whopping great cymbals. What I like to do is get cymbals on, you can see on the image both sides of the stereo field, so it adds a bit more interest than just sitting on one side. So let's do this again. Okay, let's quickly go back in and quantize that. So you can see we've got everything. Some dumb notes in there I think we can hear. Let's see where that is. I think it's that one there. Nope. Okay, so that's drums. 2 bits of guitar and drums. Let's quickly switch over to bass guitar. So I'm just going to put the ToneMaster Pro on mute. Let's quickly do that. Let's dump the guitars back and let's get that away. So what I'm hoping to show is that it doesn't necessarily take too long to get an idea in your head out and record it. So I've got the old dingwall here. And I'm just going to put this together. So let's quickly tune this bad boy in. So as a guitarist, I do tend to pick all the time. Got big chunky picks here. I think they're about 1.5, 2 mil at least. Whereas my guitars are much sharper, much smaller. I want to make sure I get as much aggressive tone out of the bass as I can. So let me quickly tune this in. I'm just looking over the corner to my ToneMaster Pro there. Okay, yeah, it's been sat in a bag, and as the room temperature changes and whatnot, it's every time tune it in just to make sure don't leave anything to chance. Again, and a low G on the bass guitar here. Okay, so let's switch. That's currently on my guitar tone. What I need to do is now get one of my bass tones up. So let's look at presets. What I've got is bass tone there. Coming in a bit loud. Okay. Let's match up with what's going on with the guitar. I think I've got a noise gate on there. Let's get that off. It's quite tight. There we go. Metal gate, really tight. Okay, something like that. So let's have a listen. Let's get the let's have a play and see if it matches, and then we'll record it. Okay, so bass tone sounds a bit weak. I've made another one recently, so a bit naughtier. Let's just play along and see how that sounds. Just depends what octave we want to stay in, but let's try and get that down. So let's go. just getting some of the basics down at the minute. Pull the bass down. Okay, so I'm just going to pull the master down now. I'm going to add a limiter to this and just see when we put it all together. It's good to hear what it might sound like at kind of volumes that would be something you would listen to on the radio or whatnot. So a bit of Pro L2. Where is it? Where are we? L2. Okay, so put it on there. I'm going to pick a preset that's loud. Keep the natural loudness. I'm just going to pull the fader back to about 8 or 9, minus 9 dBs, just based on what my all the input sources, the volumes are normally at. So I'm just going to pull up the fader on the limiter until we start hearing some good loudness whilst maintaining separation. Okay, what I want to do as well is just throw in a compressor at the start of that as well. So I've got a little preset on the Shadow Hills preset here. So mastering, we'll put that in, which will just pull it all together nicely. Pull that limiter back a bit. Okay, and based on my inputs as well, let's put a bit of EQ on that at the end. So I've got an EQ kind of curve that I normally use. Just tweaked that recently. So where are we at? Master, there we go. So a little bit of an EQ there. So this is what it will sound like. It's closer to a finished mix. So I've got a reverb on the drums. Let's pull that back a bit. It's a bit better. Pull that back a bit to get more out of that bass. Something I would do on the bass is I would put a limiter on it just to just control it a bit. Okay, so what I'm going to pick is from Ozone is just a smooth tube limiter. I'm just going to leave that there and just drag it back until it starts to capture at the peaks. Turn it off. Okay, I want to gain match that. I don't want any increased volume, I just want to capture it and smash it a bit. Okay, so that is it. That's how we get an idea down, basically. So there's a few things I could do, like using a clipper and using other pieces that will push it a bit harder. So I've got a plugin favourite actually by Black Box Audio HD2MS, which is a saturation plugin and a bit of a tube wizardry thing in the digital domain. So I'll put that before my limiter, and what I've got here is a preset as well for Thal, and I'll just pull that, because I know this particular band I've got, it's on the low frequency stuff, I'll just pull it down a tad, so when you put this in there's a lot more punch. Turn it off, throw it back in. One thing I will do before we call it a day is there's a frequency in the bass that I can hear. Forgive me there. It is. It's something that's causing a bit of that noisy boxing thing that's going on. So let's get a bit of EQ on there. So let's listen to that bass in isolation. It's kind of there, I think. So obviously there's a lot more to be done with EQing the guitars and whatnot. Let's quickly show you a bit of that. So I'm going to go straight for high pass. Get rid of anything we don't need. And whilst there's some thummy, rumbly stuff there, we don't want any of that. So about 90 there. Okay, same with the top end. Let's shave some stuff off we don't need. Just where it stops the fizz really. Okay, and there's usually a frequency that you can hear as well that's kind of that one there, round about there, that sort of sonar noise. See the peak there? So what I'll do is turn it off. You can't unhear it. So it's narrow in, we don't want to be taking anything that we don't need, but that particular frequency adds a lot of chaos to a mix. So high pass and high cut, and then getting rid of some noise, so a bit of boxiness. Maybe at the top end as well, a bit of a nudge. So guitar tone as it was. A bit more control. Put that in the mix. Pull the drums back. Okay, let's call it a day. So that's the first test of me just having a quick go and demonstrating how I put a link together by picking up the old electric, the old bass, and I've also got a keyboard here for the drums. So easily done once you know how, but more to follow. So I hope that was interesting to a few that are trying to do the same thing as me. So we'll call it a day.